What was a red flag that made you stop talking to a person immediately? I'm an alcoholic that's pretty jazzed about being sober now. Yeah, I would be surprised how many folks will pull out the and you don't think you could just get away with a drink or two after being sober this long. But I never planned to find out, and it's concerning that you feel the need to tempt me. An old buddy I used to work with stopped into bullshit when he started explaining that he learned you don't need a driver's license because the Gov is a big corporation and we can renounce our spot and declare ourselves freemen. I just gave up on him. It's been around 5 years now. A new guy at work started chatting with me while I was getting a coffee, and it went from how's the weather to full on racism in less than 5 minutes. I just walked away. In high school, my longtime crush finally started to reciprocate my feelings, and we got to hanging out. That's when he told me he and his buddies liked to ride their bikes and swing baseball bats as they chased terrified homeless people down. When he saw my horrified expression, he was like, "We don't actually hit them. They just think we will. At worst, we'll throw brown paper bags full of dog shit at them." Haha. That relationship lasted about half a day. Friend of mine told me she was having an affair with a guy who provides intimidation for a criminal organization. Said she didn't know that about him when the affair began. She implied that it wouldn't be safe for her to dump him. After hanging up the phone, I said to myself, stay away from her. They got arrested for inappropriately touching a 12-year-old girl. He said he had an alpha personality. Had a friend who was bipolar. He received a restraining from a girl. He started talking online to a female friend of mine. She told me she was feeling uncomfortable. I told him to leave her alone and he said no, and I couldn't tell him what to do. I pretty much ended the friendship right there. I think he's doing better now, but I refuse to be friends with him again. I had a friend that I grew up with, played on the same teams, our parents were friends, we were in each other's weddings. He was in the police academy and came over to the house one night during that time and said, "You know, I thought I wanted to be a cop, so I could serve and protect, really help people, you know? Now I realize it's so I can drive really fast, carry a gun, and beat people up." He also went on a rant about how all homeless people should be rounded up and thrown under the jail and disposed of. We never spoke again after that day. This guy I'd meet for coffee for mentoring, I figured out was just a liar. Not even about important stuff, just dumb random things. Was super easy to notice, and was insulting that he'd think I was that gullible. He tried to force himself on me by attempting to put his hands down my pants and kiss me. I told him no, and he looked at me dead in the eyes and said, "People don't refuse me. The best part is that I drove us." Met a guy at the gym and invited him to hang out with my friends later on that week at the bar. He seems totally normal. Later at the bar, we're talking and he drops an incredibly racist joke out of nowhere. Stops the conversation dead in its tracks, and we all look at him and no one says anything or laughs. He mumbles something about us being too sensitive and didn't say much the rest of the night. Haven't talked to or seen him since. This guy was disgusted by how ugly and gross a party host's newly rescued dog. The dog was emaciated and had patchy fur from starvation and neglect. Instant rejection from the sphere of people I want to have in my life. Not listening to what I'm saying. This has happened with more than one person, but 1. Made plans to hang out or for them to come over. 2. I've learned a lot of people are trash at communication, so I follow up an hour in advance to make sure things are still going smooth. 3. Couldn't get a hold of them. They never show and never tell me they won't make it. 4. Insta-banned from my life. Also never followed up with me later to say why they ghosted. Someone being shitty to the waitstaff the first and last time we hung out. When they used me as an alibi for cheating on their spouse. My coworker told me he knew his wife was having a seizure at work. Drove to her job retail grocery, asked where she was. They told him she hadn't shown up. So he knew she was in her car, but he decided to shop around a little bit before finding her. By the time he got out to her car, someone else had called an ambulance and was helping her. I haven't been able to look at him the same. The disregard for personal boundaries. Met someone for a date. We went on a hike and I tripped over a log and fell on my hands, and they non-stop pointed and laughed at me hysterically for 5 minutes straight. Didn't offer to help me up, offer any consolation, just laughed in my face for 5 minutes. Kept bringing it up the rest of the hike how stupid I looked falling and laughing again.